You've just entered the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. If you've come for actual legal advice, you need to turn right around, honey. You need to get out of here, 'cause you ain't gonna get none of that. They quibble, and they squabble, and they bicker. But if you want to hear meaningless opinions, this is the right place. They got plenty of that. Stuff that makes no sense at all. They go off on tangents. It's crazy talk. If that's your thing, keep listening. They'll keep talking.
Oh no no, oh no no, it's another episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. You've entered the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Yay!
Welcome to another edition of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this March 10th, 2021. We had a guest scheduled, but he's not here. So we're going to go back to our roots and do our old format of just a few months ago and give you a topic, and then we'll discuss it. This is something we just created on the fly, so no research has gone into this episode other than whatever
Not a topic, a client.
I can pull off of. Right, our client. We dragged them off the street. We just basically pulled this client in off the street because they looked like they needed help, and we decided that this will be pro bono. This is a pro bono episode with the client JFQ.
Pro bono, because this client is flat earthing you.
Thank you. I was saying it, but then you were talking.
You're welcome.
So, well, let's just make it clear. JFQ, Flat Earth and You, is our client for the day. Essentially, we'll be discussing numerous different conspiracy theories. And Greg, I think this is right up your alley. Why don't you go ahead and take the ball on this one while I figure out what the hell I'm going to talk about?
Well, I was very much into conspiracy theories, certain ones, when I was a younger man.
Like
when I
being
wore
able to
younger
cure
man's clothes, as they say.
curing lesbians, I think, is one of yours.
Yes, that's a conspiracy, though, Matt. It's been debunked.
Okay.
But I was very much into the JFK conspiracy as a young man in college. I really studied it. I was like one of those nut jobs. But a lot of stuff I found, I didn't read the nutty shit. But there was aliens or whatever. There's a lot of dumb theories about certain conspiracies. But a lot of conspiracies, there's a lot of shit there. And like we've said this before in the podcast, history is conspiracy.
So basically, you're saying that there's a lot of conspiracies. You just summed up what is already known.
No, some are dumb and some are not dumb. Some,
right,
like, you know, the fact that the banks control everything and money, you know, rules the government. That's kind of a conspiracy. They don't talk about it. They want to keep that hidden.
Well, it's not really a theory. It's just kind of how it is.
But right. I know, but a lot of people don't know that. They think their vote counts. You know, it's a conspiracy.
So a lot of people like Scrapple too, so there's that.
But but you started by saying JFK, which I think of all of the goofball conspiracy theories that are out there that people, you know, are aware of, is probably arguably the most legitimate, like, really? Like that one guy shot the magic bullet and all that. I think that's probably, of all the conspiracy theories, the one where rational people go,
something fishy happened.
There's something fishy about
something fishy. And even in the 60s, people were questioning. And this is before
that was back during the period when the government was definitely trying to pull the wool over the American public's eyes in various different ways. Yeah. They thought they had impunity.
Even though it was like pre-cynical America, before Watergate, even then in the 60s, people were like, this doesn't add up. All these stories. So there's something there. I don't know what it is. I don't think anyone will ever prove it. But then there's obviously just moronic conspiracies like COVID towers cause cancer. I'm sorry.
COVID towers?
Sorry,
are there towers of COVID?
Sorry, 5G towers cause cancer.
Here we have in the giant ant colony a tower of COVID, which is being built by all the little COVID ants.
Fine, rake me over the coals.
COVID ants abound with their COVID. Well, we brought up JFQ. So are we saying that QAnon killed Kennedy?
Well, you know, that's an interesting point because obviously
he said it's an interesting point. Here we go.
Here we go. The whole idea behind the QAnon conspiracy is that Q is the letter for the highest what do you call it?
Shoelaces? What?
No, not shoelaces, but
The highest
Chupacabra?
stoner in Portland?
oh God damn it. You know, a little assistance would be helpful.
Like we have any idea where you're going with this.
Okay, so
Yeah,
give me
I'm
a second. Okay. The highest level of clearance, like the top security clearance is
Oh,
Q.
got it. Okay,
right?
according to
Like
somebody.
a James Bond.
Yes, like James Bond. So Q,
So Q is
is-
from James Bond? That's where it comes from?
no.
There's a
Because-
character.
Well, no, but that's different,
Well,
Greg.
Q is the guy who
Oh.
developed all of the gadgets for Bond.
Was it
Yeah, the
Q
stupid
on
gadgets.
Bond?
Yeah. Yeah, because M was the one who led the intelligence agency.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Right.
Well, no, this is a different Q. This Q is some
Okay.
sort of insider guy or girl who has top security clearance, who knows all
Do you
the
think they
stuff.
go around looking in the mirror and saying IQ to themselves a lot? Just so that they can have that
Just so you could have that dumb joke. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
yes.
no, I'm sure they do that every fucking day.
IQ! IQ! You know Q! IQ!
I'm sure that's how it works.
Yes. In my
But-
mind.
So the Q is the highest level of intelligence, and where are we going from there?
Intelligence.
I don't know about intelligence, but the highest level of
Security.
whatever
Oh,
government
security.
security.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he has or she has all the butt skinny about whatever. And so the thing that's amazing to me about this conspiracy theory, which is completely different from JFK, which you could go, oh, I can kind of see that doesn't make any sense, like the bullet trajectory. This is based on some fuck on 4chan started talking shit saying he was Q, and then that spread from there. And the idea is that there's a group of satanic pedophiles, including Tom Hanks and
The Clintons.
the Clintons and others, who are eating children to get their midichlorians or their blood, or I don't know what the fuck.
So they're Jedis. The Clintons are, and now explains everything.
Yeah. Anyway, it's so fucking batshit crazy. Like, you go from the, you talk to your grandpa, and your grandpa's like, there's no way that one guy killed Kennedy. And you're kind of like, you know what? That kind of makes sense. To your current grandpa, who's like, there's a pizza place in DC where they eat babies and then feed the blood to Tom Hanks.
That's like a
Yeah, that's
special
quite
topping
elite.
for a pizza.
Yeah.
It's like, is it freshly sliced? I mean, what is, anyway. Okay, well, I never delved into the whole QAnon thing that far because it was all just ludicrous from the start, in my opinion. And I thought that people who were passing this on are like the people who are addicted to Pokemon Go. It's like they feel like it's a lifestyle and they must follow and go walk down the street to find more clues from Q, just like they find clues from.
But they're
Pokemon
crazier
Go.
than that, because Pokemon Go is just a fun game to play. I have
Wait,
friends
you
who
say
play it.
it's
They're not
fun,
insane.
Greg.
It's just
Did
fun.
you play it, Greg? How do you know it's fun?
No, they tell me it's fun. It's
Okay.
anecdotal. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm using
the
anecdotal
QAnon
evidence.
people feel that it's fun too, as well as satanic.
You know what, Greg? Matt is not far off from the truth in that, I played Pokemon Go with my kid and it was fun. And QAnon is a similar weird fucking thing in that these people are dropped. They're dropped clues. I live in Florida, so I live with this every day.
For those
They're
of you who've been watching the show for a long time, you should all understand that Brendan lives in Florida.
Yeah,
The home of Q.
Right.
No, I don't know. Maybe.
We think he lives in Florida. In
Maybe.
reality, that's
He
actually
probably does.
Seth Meyers' apartment in New York City. You
But-
can tell by the door behind him.
But the way that it works is that Q drops clues. And
I like
then,
how you had to put air quotes around Q, like we couldn't figure out what you were talking about.
all right, for those of you who aren't, so Q drops clues, and then the anon,
Yes.
those are the people that aren't Q, then pick up on these bullshit weirdo statements like
It's Q's
Confetti.
Clues. Does it have
It's
like
Clues.
a mascot dog for Q's Clues?
it should. And
That's
then
a great show idea.
and then
Q's
there-
Clues, Q's Clues. Everybody want for Q's Clues.
then their task is to figure out what Q actually meant.
So it's
Or-
basically Nostradamus for the modern day.
It is no,
Yeah.
it's more like Blue's Clues for the retarded.
That should have been the title of this episode. Damn it.
No, we're not going to use words that are deliberately offensive to a group of people.
Oh, I
It's
forgot
just
about
not
that.
going
Oh,
to
I forgot
happen.
that word's offensive.
It
I'm
is.
sorry for all of our retarded listeners. I didn't mean that.
And just because all of our listeners are slow doesn't mean you have to call them that.
Okay, fair
Matt, of
enough.
any of the conspiracies you've heard of in your life, do you
Mhm.
get what we're saying? Like, were there any that you were like, that could be true? Like 9/11.
No,
There's
9/11, any
9/11,
conspiracies regarding
so
9/11 are
things
just
happen
freaking
that day.
ridiculous. The fact is that people died in those buildings, and there was very
I've
deliberate.
read some that were
The
kind of
conspiracy was the
some
actual
fishy
conspiracy
things
about
happened
9/11. Yeah,
that
but the
day.
actual conspiracy was of a group of terrorists who had a conspiracy. That was the conspiracy. There's no theory
Yeah.
there.
Right. But what about the fact that the buildings kind of went down unusually, or that one building in terms of 9/11 went down? It wasn't even hit by an airplane, but it just suddenly collapsed.
Why didn't more go down then? Why didn't they take out the entire every building in the area?
Hey, I'm not arguing in favor of these things. I'm just saying these are things that people say.
That morons repeat to each other. Yes, I get that, but
There's a very good journalist he's the guy who did the whole Katrina reportage after Katrina, all the shenanigans that went on
like
there.
it wasn't
I
really
kept
a
thinking this-
hurricane. It was actually just
Greg-
somebody with really bad
No,
gas.
how the government dealt with it and all the things they were trying to cover up and their shitty ways of dealing with it. Greg
Yeah.
Palast, his name is. Greg Palast, such a good journalist. He had to move to England to report about America because he kept getting censored. People were like, hey, we don't want you reporting about this stuff. I mean, he worked for major newspapers in America, but they kept nixing his stories because, like, we're owned by a corporation. They're not going to like the story. So he moved to England and he wrote a book where he has this addendum about that truther stuff. And this guy's not a nut job.
Yeah,
And
but as
he
soon
did
as he
say
moved to
one,
England,
like,
he
little-
lost all credibility.
No, I'm saying, Matt, just little things he brought up. I know he didn't prove it. He's not convinced. But like there was something that day where all of our jets were like doing this exercise in Canada, which they never should be doing. There should always be a certain amount of jets over American soil or ready to take off. And for that day, and this is proven, this isn't some nutty thing. You could look it up, Freedom of Information Act. You could say, hey, they broke protocol that day, and all these Air Force jets, fighter pilot jets, were somewhere doing this weird exercise, which they never should be doing. Just little things like that.
So did anybody
aren't
look
like-
at the rest of the last 5 years to see if there are any other times that those jets were doing things they shouldn't
Well,
be
he
doing?
said before that it never happened because that's the protocol. You're not supposed to do that. As you can
Yeah.
imagine, that's not wise. I'm just saying little things like that. I'm not a truther. But
You're not a
there
what?
are things that a truther.
What's a
You don't know that
truther?
term? They're the people who think that 9/11 was an inside job.
They're called truthers.
You never heard that term? Yeah,
Well, I've heard the
it's a
term
big
truther, but just not associated with any particular conspiracy.
No, it
theory.
was that.
Yeah, no.
They
That
call
one.
truthers. Truthers.
Okay.
Yeah, he's right.
They're more like missing toothers, is what they are.
No, that's something different. 100%.
I bet
I'm
a lot of them are,
positive
though.
that most of them who believe those things are missing some teeth.
Me?
There's one of them.
Matt, I get where you're coming from, but I think it's a little dismissive for you to just write off people who are questioning things, whether they're insane. I mean, obviously, on the one side, QAnon and reptilian aliens and all that bullshit is, obviously fucked up.
Oh, you say that with dismissiveness then. You're like not
Yeah.
willing to give credit
Yes.
There's people
to the
deserve it.
reptilians, Brendan. So then obviously you're just as dismissive as I am. So it's just
No,
at a
no,
different
no,
level.
no,
that is all.
No,
Those
because
people are
it's not.
stupid.
No, it's not black or white. I'm saying there's a gradient. There's levels of the problem was, and I actually I was on Alex Jones's show in probably 90.
Is this before Alex Jones lost his marbles completely?
93. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he was more of an angry libertarian on an Austin AM radio show. But I posited to him that the problem with conspiracy theories is this: there are probably real conspiracies. There are probably real things that are happening that
There's no probably. There's definitely real conspiracies. out
okay,
there.
so there's real. So
Yeah.
what happens is things like, QAnon or whatever bring the whole subject matter in a different direction, and then anything like, for instance, let's say that we all agree, I'm not saying we do, that there was probably not one shooter in JFK. Let's just pretend that we all agree on that for this thought experiment.
Yes.
So we all believe that.
Lead us, Schrodinger.
And so that's an experience. So we go, okay. But then that gets lumped into reptilian aliens, and they're all in the same category of thing. And so the real conspiracies get buried by bullshit cartoon conspiracies.
And that,
Exactly.
of
When
course,
you look at
is
QAnon,
that's a conspiracy in and of itself. Is that's the design of those conspiracies being created is to cover up the actual conspiracies.
That's correct. And
yes,
I believe that there's a certain amount of truth to that.
part of the JFK conspiracy is that the government basically created through propaganda a lot of the nuttier ones to basically make anyone who questioned it seem like one of these nuts who thinks that alien shot him, or some ludicrous stuff that, yeah, the government loved that. The CIA was happy. They were like, yeah, keep going nuts, just keep making up crazy conspiracies. No one will actually think about what happened. The real stuff is Lee Harvey Oswald, just the way he was treated as a defector to Russia in the Cold War, welcomed back to America with open arms. We paid for his plane ticket. So there's just questionable things. Nobody can prove it. These things are on public record. It's not like
everybody knows. Everyone knows it was the phone company that killed JFK.
Exactly. You bought into the dupe. You're a dupe. You bought into the crazy ones. But I think they do. Look at QAnon, for example. You guys probably have read articles in the past 20 years. They're finding out sex slavery is more profitable than illegal drug trade. That is such a widespread thing that nobody really talks about. So at first you'd think, hey, this is good that at least someone's bringing it up. Like there's some kind of ring abducting young girls and kids. But it's a total distraction from the real problem. This is just a real crime going on. And they're blaming on the Clintons and Tom Hanks. That's just fucking nuts. Tom Hanks is not part of a sex slavery ring.
As far as you know.
You're right. He could be the big pimp of that whole thing.
What was he doing in Australia when he caught COVID? Did he actually catch COVID?
No,
maybe he was like creating like a bigger network of traffickers in Australia.
He was rounding up Australian children.
He was rounding up dingoes for sexual purposes.
That's a side thing, yes. The dingo trade.
It's called Dingo was his name, oh.
And Dingo was his name, oh.
So Brendan, was there the first conspiracy you can remember when you were a teenager and you heard of like when you got into it and you started reading about it? Was there any conspiracies like that for you?
It was JFK for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was JFK. I mean, I think I read None Dare Call It Conspiracy in, I want to say the late 80s, early 90s. And I wrote off a lot of that book. I mean, there was certain amounts of it that I went, okay. And then there was certain amounts of it I was like, that's okay.
That's by Jim Garrison?
What's Jim Garrison?
The guy in the JFK movie. The hero, Kevin Costner in the JFK movie.
No.
It's a different guy.
No, it's a different guy.
That's about a number of different conspiracies, isn't it?
That's John Birch. That's the John Birch Society. I'm pretty sure.
This was a John Birch work?
Okay, those guys are nuts. I was just anything they say.
Well, QAnon is just basically John Birch nowadays.
But weirder, though. John Birch was just basically like right-wing racist guys.
Yeah.
And it seems like QAnon is just all over the map. Like, what are you trying to convey to us? Like, you just have all these random, they basically believe every conspiracy theory and they've lumped them all together, it sounds like. That's what it sounds like
Well, they've given it like a goal, a thing to achieve, which is to ensure Trump and his family are in power forever.
This is true, yeah.
Yeah. In other words, they're creating their own Rothschilds is what their design is for
or
whatever
Napoleon.
Purpose. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't really delved into the whole Q thing because it just came off as totally ridiculous off the bat. So, my question really is, are they connected to the flat Earth movement?
I bet there's a crossover.
Is there a flat Quearth going on?
Well, I mean,
Quearth
the
conspiracy.
The flat Earth thing is kind of an interesting sidebar.
Well, it's like the moon landing hoax. They're like connected. It's like you can't believe the Earth is flat if you believe we landed on the moon. So you have to disbelieve them both.
Yeah.
Now there's some footage out there where supposedly someone brought this up to Buzz Aldrin and he punched him.
Yes. And I worked with Buzz Aldrin for at least a couple of years promoting his book, and he's a fucking hothead. So the fact that he punched somebody who was like, "You were never on the moon," it makes sense to me because he's just that kind of guy. But it seems like there's a couple of branches of conspiracy. There's a political conspiracy, the QAnon, the JFK assassination, that kind of thing, Whitewater. Then there's a science is bullshit conspiracy, like flat Earth or
anti-vaxxers,
people who hate protractors,
people.
Yes,
all those
major.
So
anyone
it's
using implements of measurement of any kind.
There's politics. It seems to me there's two branches. There's politics, and then there's science.
There's the ones who are pro-qubit. You want to go back to using qubits to...
I read that protractors were one of the main reasons that the Holocaust happened.
Because people were really for tractors?
Protractors.
Yes, we're an anti-tractor.
Oh, yes.
Wait a minute.
And Hitler used
I am
that.
punning a pun is what's happening.
Brilliant.
Do you mean Qbert, like the guy, the character with the little nose, and
That's where QAnon comes from.
Oh my God!
You jumped him up and down.
It was basically Bert from the Sesame Street connecting with Q, and then throughout the years on public television, that's where Q came about.
What if we posted online
Qbert Qernie.
What if we posted a thing where we play Qbert and we show that the pattern he takes when he jumps up the little mountain of bricks is a coded message of conspiracy? I bet we'd have 1,000 followers.
It creates a pentagram, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'd have 1 million followers on YouTube tomorrow if we did that, or on
I'm telling you guys,
Instagram.
Folks, seriously, 2 steps. 1, we come up with some bullshit story. We go onto 4chan and we start promoting it. It's got to be the right elements of fucking stupid and crazy. And if the 4chan community starts glomming onto it, then what we do is we go to Reddit. We go to Reddit and we do the same thing, and we bring the 4chan people with us to kind of give it street cred.
Well, you know, there is a risk with that, mainly because those guys on Reddit and 4chan, a lot of them are hackers. And there is a very real possibility that they come after us, and we have nothing to protect us from hackers.
We're just lawyers.
but
fake lawyers, they're real hackers who are real dickheads in lots of cases.
But what I'm saying is I kind of live in this world. What I'm saying is, assuming that our shit is legitimately funny or cheeky or whatever, and it gains traction one place and it gains traction the other, yes, Greg, you're 100%. We could have a cult tomorrow.
And you know what we got to do? We got to into the soup song of craziness. We have to put a dash.
Spell soup song, Greg. Is curious.
We definitely have to have hatefulness, a little bit of hatefulness. Like, so it's got to be ridiculous, crazy.
Towards who? Who are we going to do it towards?
The Swiss, baby.
No,
that's too easy. We'd have to go after somebody who's the Finns, I think, in Finland.
Furries?
No.
Or people in Lagos.
China.
No, that would be racist. No, we can't do China. We don't want to encourage racism unless we're basically targeting white people.
What about furries?
Well, that's the whole point, is encouraging racism. That's what gains traction.
Right, but I don't want to encourage racism.
I'm not suggesting we do this. I'm just saying if
I thought we were running with this idea. I thought
no, God,
like, how can we make it happen?
No, I don't want to do this at all.
I thought you were saying this because it would be great for our ratings for our podcast.
No.
Yeah, I thought he was like really thinking this through of like how to get attention.
Oh, it would, but I'm not advocating this at all. I'm just saying.
So disclaimer, everyone. We will not be starting some weird mental cult on 4chan.
No,
I can't promise. I might by myself without these guys.
Okay, well, Greg might do it then.
I like it. I've never liked this. The Swiss, the Swiss are. They got all Hitler's gold.
All right, so we have to finally like get into my culture. So just so you guys know, that is my ancestry. My ancestry is Swiss.
I never liked you either. I know. It fits it perfectly.
Well, okay, then it makes sense. Then we'll go for that.
I have no problem with the
Since you guys already hate me, then who cares?
I don't know what fucking Greg is talking about.
I hate you with love, though.
All right,
hating with love.
Yes. So what about? Would somebody explain to me whitewater? That's total bullshit, right?
Water when it's like all churned up, like in a river, it turns white.
Whitewater
Greg.
Conspiracy. The whitewater conspiracy. It seemed like nothing ever came from that. I didn't have the.
Well, it's like an ongoing conspiracy against the Clintons because apparently anybody who speaks out against them is killed by them, and it's all covered up. And
like we were talking earlier about the JFK conspiracy and certain other ones, is there some little inkling that like, oh, something fishy happened? Or is it just complete Republican partisan bullshit?
Well, I was just thinking about this. Like, are there Democratic conspiracies? We keep hearing about these Republican ones. Like, so where are the Democrats Looney Tunes?
Oh, well, the JFK was that was a more Democratic liberal side of thinking the CIA did this. Those evil bastards, those right-wing fucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that they consider CIA right-wing or left-wing. They just consider them like out of control.
No, the CIA was definitely right-wing then. They were toppling any left-wing government and installing right-wing dictators all through the 50s and 60s.
I don't know if that would make them right-wing at the time, though.
They were.
Greg, to answer your question about whitewater.
Please.
Yes. There was some shenanigans financially that the Clintons were involved in relative to some, development bullshit that they made a bunch of money on. Does that mean that they killed people? No. But was there some shady shit that went down? Yeah. Are the Clintons generally shady people? 100%.
Every politician I know, though, except for Bernie Sanders, of course.
Bernie Sanders is probably shady on some level, like he's getting soup donations or
He once jaywalked.
He once jaywalked. But my point is, there was definitely some shady shit that went down with Whitewater. But
okay, Whitewater.
Going back to Matt's point, which makes sense and is a good point. Most of the conspiracy.
Who is pounding on things? I'm hearing like pounding on stuff.
I don't know.
I don't think I am.
That's weird.
Most of the conspiracy theories are right wing.
Yeah.
Although there is one here where I'm coming across that the suppression of alternative therapies. University of Chicago did a study that suggests that almost half of Americans believe at least one medical conspiracy theory, with 37% believing that the FDA deliberately suppresses natural cures due to influence from the pharmaceutical industry.
That's totally true, Matt. That's not a conspiracy.
Well,
I know a doctor.
I know a doctor. This doctor told me the truth.
I know a doctor.
You know what? This guy over here, he knew a doctor also. They got interviewed by the University of Chicago, and the University of Chicago said that, most people, like 50%, believe these things.
I'm gonna let you run on because I love when you do that accent. But
I don't know what accent I was doing, but it was there.
I dated a medical student at the time, and she told me.
And she became a doctor?
Do not go to a chiropractor. They're told it's bullshit. Whatever. Go to a real doctor, get drugs. And it's like, I kind of believed her. And then I said, fuck it, my back. I threw my back for like a month. It wasn't getting better. And I went to a chiropractor. And guess what?
What?
Fucking took care of it.
He fucked you and took care of it?
He fucking took care of it. He fucked me and he took care of it. So I was bonus. I got laid.
You got a boner bonus.
But it is like
in the butt.
A lot of doctors, the AMA will say like, oh, chiropractic is silly or, it's bunk. It's like a lot.
Did you call it chiropractery?
I know. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Even they just call it chiropractic.
Chiropractic.
Yeah.
The AMA is very much.
I'm really glad we cleared up that.
It was important.
Thank you.
The AMA is so they actually are. It's
with your Mathery hat.
The AMA really does not like anyone looking into anything that might be like, hey, this is what we do, because they want all the money. I don't think that's a conspiracy even. They'd admit it probably.
Well, the AMA was specifically going after chiropractors way back in the day. They were calling them quacks and basically trying to destroy their licenses. And they were successful to a certain extent and then unsuccessful because the chiropractors were able to build their own organization and show that. I mean, a lot of them, just like medical doctors, have committed malpractice. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But I'd say for the most part, chiropractic has been a benefit to many people. But now doctors can't charge for surgery that chiropractic fixes.
Exactly. Yeah. Or just painkillers. I mean,
thank you.
Painkillers.
This episode is sponsored by the National Chiropractic Association. So,
who also killed Kennedy.
Going back to that point, can anyone think of a liberal-leaning conspiracy, meaning a conspiracy that has in its heart or its whatever liberal tendencies, as opposed to
that Trump was in the pocket of the Russians?
That's true, that's a good one. That's
true, totally true.
But yeah, Greg, why is it true? They did a whole connection in the impeachment, and they couldn't really prove it.
He never said that, actually. Are you talking about the FBI guy, Comey?
No, not Comey.
And there's a lot of things you can't prove. I mean, you have to be like...
right, so it's like, so you're saying it's true, but how do you personally know it's true, Greg? Just because your Democratic overlords told you it was true?
No, I listen to them. I'm on the hotline with them right now.
You do.
But, oh shit, they just zapped me, Matt, because I said something they didn't like. Ow. So, I'm saying all you got to do is 3 years ago,
microchips from the vaccines.
Stand up with Putin in Helsinki, and after every single source in American intelligence said that Russia did hack our elections, and some reporter said, Mr. Trump, President Trump, will you please acknowledge that Putin did this? And he said, I don't see why he would have. total traitorous fucking act. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what Putin has in him, but he is his fucking butt monkey. He does anything he wants.
In your opinion, you don't have
No,
there's
it's
no
watch
proof
the
there.
news. It's
Yeah,
in
it's
the
not
news
proof, though.
every day.
It's not
Everything
proof, though.
Trump has said is like, wow, you really
But it's
love
not
this
proof.
guy.
It's still a theory.
It's not proven that he can have an opinion about anything. The president can say, I love
Yeah,
the Nazis or whatever.
That's my only point. My only point is that
Yeah.
this is a theory. That's all. It's just not.
It's not a theory. It's just news. It's facts. It's what Trump has said.
Facts that you put together into a theory.
No, what Trump has said. Trump has said Putin is great. I love the way he runs his country, blah, blah, blah. He didn't hack our country, even though we all know he did. I mean, no, that's not even a conspiracy. That's a CIA, FBI. Yes, that happened.
What about the fact that the Republican Party are all racist Nazis?
That's just prejudice, bigotry.
That's just a perception.
That's not a conspiracy. It's more. Yeah.
Like okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Bigotry.
I'm just trying to think of things liberals say.
Bigotry against Republicans.
I did hear that anti-vaxxers, that was started as a kind of a left liberal thing. Most anti-vaxxers are kind of like liberal. They're not like Trump MAGA hat wearing people.
I don't know. I don't know. I know that if I was marketing something where I don't know. I think those people are more right. They're more probably homeschoolers. They're probably more Christian. And for those two factors, they're probably more Republican.
What about suppressing of the electric car?
Oh, that's not a conspiracy. That's obvious. There's proof of that.
What I like is whenever we bring that up, we bring up ones that could be considered left-wing, Greg says that they're true.
What?
So we definitely know who Greg is in the pocket of.
They are true. You could go to Congress and see the laws that their lobbyists passed.
Well, I missed something. It happened too quick. What are we talking about?
The suppression of the electric car.
How is there a suppression of the electric car? The richest person on the planet has an electric car company.
But it should have been something that was done decades ago.
It could have been done in the 60s.
We could have changed the entire power grid a long time ago and moved over to electricity for cars. But because of big business and the car companies, they prevented that from happening.
I can't imagine Exxon did any shenanigans to stop that from happening. No, they wouldn't have done that. No.
Right, but the fact is there are conspiracy theories regarding it, though. Some things are true and some things are not. But that's my only point, is like that would be considered more of a left-wing conspiracy.
True, but it's not really a conspiracy. It's just what happened. That all that shit happened. They suppressed
Well, of course, all of the things that are theories that come from the left, Greg, are true. None of them are theories.
No, Matt, you're saying things that are historical. Like we talk about, a lot of history is conspiracy.
So, Greg, you come up with one.
I can't think of any. I said anti-vaxxer. I heard that anti-vaxxers actually skew liberal.
Anti-vaxxers. Let's talk about this. We've seen a lot of this in the news over the last week. Mr. Potato Head, Dr. Seuss.
Both killed JFK.
They all killed JFK. My point is that...
Especially Mr. Potato Head, because he could change his face and you wouldn't know it was him.
What did Mr. Potato Head do? He's getting canceled?
He killed JFK. Yeah. Well, no, he's becoming genderless.
He's genderless.
So there's no longer a Mr. and Miss Potato Head. There's basically just a potato.
Oh, thank God, because that was really damaging to children.
I guess it would be called Potato Head.
Just Potato Head.
Yeah, that's probably what it should be.
That's what you call me all the time.
So my point is...
I don't like you that much.
Okay, calm down. My point is that those issues, those things are viewed as a liberal conspiracy, although promoted by the right. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Promoted by the right. They're viewed as a liberal conspiracy to do whatever nefarious things that make a potato genderless mean, or canceling the fact that I saw it on Mulberry Street by Dr. Seuss has some cartoon images of Chinese people that are, not
Yeah, but you can't really
exactly
say
the
it's the
best.
left doing that to Dr. Seuss. It's Dr. Seuss's estate that has chosen to do that.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
the left are
okay.
applauding it.
Okay, but why would they do that?
Maybe because they're woke. They woke up
Right.
and they went,
And why are they woke?
Because they're against bullying?
No,
because the liberals champion that. The liberal,
right.
They're taking a liberal stance, if you will.
Right.
You know, Tucker Carlson, I just saw a clip of him where he's like, trying to make this a bigger thing. Like, oh, now the liberals want to go after Dr. Seuss. And then he starts talking about the speeches, which talks about how we're all different, but we're all okay, inclusion. But that was not even on the list of books banned. So he put up the straw dog.
Well, they're not even banned. They're just books that they're not publishing anymore.
Yeah. You're right. So, but even the speeches isn't even on the list of the books that's going to continue to be published. And he's still, all he could talk about was the speeches. It's like, he's such a turd, that guy. That's my liberal conspiracy, is that guy is literally a piece of shit. He has no organs in his body. He's just fecal matter.
Tucker Carlson is literally that.
Fecal matter.
Okay.
It's amazing how he can actually speak as a piece of fecal matter.
Tucker Carlson is
That's a conspiracy theory.
For sure. Liberal. But the fact that the Dr. Seuss people aren't going to publish, the fact that I saw it on Mulberry Street, because they're responding to woke culture, is a liberal conspiracy.
Is it a conspiracy or is it legitimate?
It's not legitimate.
Why?
Well, let's see. There are times in history where things changed. People's attitudes, people's thought processes were different. And so to say that something is no longer relevant, or something is no longer good, or something should no longer be seen because our current values don't line up with the values of that time, is a bit ridiculous. Like, there's now
so then it's okay for everybody to have Confederate flags in their houses and what have you.
Matt, he's talking about Matt, do you think Huck Finn is a valid book by Mark Twain?
Do I think it's a valid book? Yeah, it's a valid book. It's an actual book.
It's a damn good book.
So should we?
A lot of people want to get rid of that. He says because they say Jim.
Right.
Well, it can depend upon Mark Twain's estate. If they decide that they don't want to publish anymore, that's their choice, right? Yeah.
But I'm saying, though,
that's their choice as the ones who have the estate.
But what kind of loss is it if the fucking estate of Mark Twain decides that Huckleberry Finn is no longer
allowed
or relevant? How is that not just goddamn 1984 all over again, just in a direction that liberals want?
Wait, say that one more time.
Okay, so we don't like the fact that they say you're Jim in Huckleberry Finn. So we decide that that's not okay. And as a result, the people that own the copyrights, which is the Mark Twain estate or whoever the fuck, they go, oh shit, let's just take this book off the market because we're just going to piss everybody off. So they take the book off the market. Isn't that censorship?
Well, it's definitely a form of censorship. Sure, I'm not going to disagree with that.
But it's not like
people censor things. It happens.
Yeah. But I mean, it's sad because, that's considered one of the best books any American author's ever written. I mean, it would be a huge loss if everything that had slightly offensive stuff in it. We'd have to get rid of so much stuff, so much great part of our culture.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess
we'd have to get rid of Brendan for what he just said.
Yeah, I guess
you can bleep it out if you want.
You know what, Matt? I guess I the part where you're like, oh well, then we should just have Confederate flags, just seemed like a knee-jerk liberal.
No, that was
reaction.
Totally different. It wasn't
in the sense of you're saying that these are things that have historical reference, and that it's something that should be eliminated. Should we eliminate them? Should we keep them? You know, it's a
No, it's
similar
different.
ideology.
It's different. Do I believe that we should have a statue of Robert E. Lee in the middle of a historically black community? No, I don't believe that's history. I
Well,
believe
if
that's...
that historically black community wanted to have that statue there, then that would be their choice, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be, but
Yeah.
probably it's not.
That would never happen. Yeah, in a million years.
So that's
What would never happen in a million years, Greg? That there would be a statue in a historically black community? I think
Community would say, "We love this Robert E. Lee
Are you
statue."
on your way to the bathroom or something?
I
You
don't
look like
know.
you look like you're going spelunking.
I can't say. I'm
It's
starting
like
a
this.
conspiracy.
This is the part of the episode when we become the Blair Witch Project, and we're
This is
doing
my liberal
found footage of Greg working his way to the restroom.
Okay, you guys talk amongst yourself for a second.
It was hard to do that when you were talking and carrying your head around. Well, you're kind of like the headless horseman in that sense.
Regardless of all this, I think that there are not as many liberal oriented conspiracies as there are Republican conspiracies.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's actually, well, I mean, you say liberal and Republican, it should be more Democrat and Republican, or liberal and conservative in terms
Democrat, Republican, whatever.
Because you have moderates on both sides. You have moderate Republicans, you have moderate Democrats, right? So I think it just comes down to like how left-wing and how right-wing the points of view are. I think when he was bringing up vaccines before, there's, I think, a lot of people who are on the left who are anti-vaccine, you know? And there's a lot of people.
Do you think it's more though?
I couldn't quantify it. I wouldn't know. You know. I mean, I could guess. I would make a guess. It's probably more on the right for religious purposes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
But you know,
but
there's that whole thing
right.
that people have a problem with fluoridation in water too, right?
That was definitely right wing. That was all right wing people.
That was all Dr. Strangelove.
They thought it would make you go communist. Fluoridation would turn you into communist.
No, it has to do with your manly fluids.
Yes, manly bodily fluids.
Yes.
Do you want to hear a weird conspiracy? Was when I was watching a collection of the things they showed at drive-ins in between movies, you know, like let's go get some candy. And one of the ads was in the 50s.
Wait. Back that up again. Why were you just singing whatever you were singing?
Candy.
Yeah, you know that.
What? Back up to the beginning of your thought process.
Okay,
here.
In olden times.
This is fluoridation, right? Olden times.
I know. No, I'm telling you about another conspiracy theory, which I thought was so funny. Was that they used to show these things in movies, commercials, sometimes. You know, and sometimes they usually were just
what commercial were they showing, Greg?
Candy, because you're in a drive-in.
What was the jingle again?
I'm mixed. Oh, let's go to the lobby and get something to eat, something like that. But one of them that they showed, it was just all like still things like with
which
words.
Said, "Welcome to your lizard overlords."
I wish. No, it said it was when daylight savings time became a thing, and they were, going to change that, and it was seen as this unnatural thing. It actually said something like save real time for family, for play, for worship, as if daylight savings time would take this away from us, like something unnatural about changing the hour. It was so bizarre. Like that was a conspiracy that you've never heard of. I never did either. But people can turn anything into a conspiracy. Like they just wanted to do this daylight savings time for, I don't know, to help farmers maybe. I don't know what the real reason is.
It was to save energy. That's why it was called savings time.
Oh, is that okay? So people
it was
thought
because different times of day, things got darker, and they didn't want people using too much energy, and so
a handful of weirdos thought this was an insidious plot, and they had to stop it. It's like, what the fuck? Daylight savings is not insidious. It's annoying. I don't like it. But
daylight savings is bullshit.
It's causing cancer.
It's causing cancer, and it's part of the reptilian
daylight savings
overlord
created the windmills, which of course create cancer. So there we have the direct tie-in.
Do you guys know
Yes.
that Arizona doesn't have daylight savings time and they had the best COVID rates at the beginning of the breakout? Think about it.
At the beginning? Right. As a matter of fact, all of the United States had the best rates at the beginning of the breakout too.
No,
Because it was in
Arizona was doing
China.
very well.
It was in
'Cause
China. It does when he wasn't here at all. So yeah.
So what about this Chinese virus? Should we talk about that conspiracy, or is that too new?
I think the Chinese virus is when the communists took over. That was the original virus.
Yeah.
So the
They
communists
were-
took over China.
Wasn't that fun living there before they took over, though? It was a different kind of shitty.
Yeah, different kind. And but it's
Just as shitty. Or maybe
I don't know
shittier.
if it's just as, because there's certainly a different kind of oppression taking place there now, you know, in terms of thought police and what have you.
Yeah, it wasn't fun though living in China. Before the communists
Whatever.
took over.
They get what they deserve.
That's what they get for being Chinese.
That's
They get a
right.
Chinese government.
They get that Winnie the Pooh motherfucker.
That's North Korea. Are you thinking of North Korea?
No, I'm thinking of China.
No, but I thought Kim Jong Un was the one that doesn't. People call
No.
him Winnie the Pooh.
No, it's
Oh, the Chinese guy gets Winnie the Pooh.
It's the Chinese guy. Look it up. It's Xi
Jinping.
Jinping, yeah. He has forbidden. He has forbidden any images of Winnie the Pooh in his country.
Oh my god.
It's
What an
like-
asshole.
I'm curious what the reasoning is for going after
He
Winnie
looks
the
like
Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, I think.
because he looks like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Oh, so
So
that's
people-
where that comes from.
He
Okay.
can't
Yeah.
stand a little joke, a little ribbing, so
He
he
can't-
banned Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, Google
By
it.
the
dude.
way, no googly eyes. I figured out a way to use it.
Whoa.
It's like partial. It's like mainly like up here.
Yeah, I can see it on the top.
It's more
It looks
like,
you have.
it's like googly eyebrows instead.
Yeah, yeah.
Of googly. Instead, you
You
just get the
over-
reflection of the laptop in my glasses.
It's almost like one of those emoticons where I don't know what emotion that conveys, where you've got little
Emoticon.
half circle over your eyes.
Wasn't an emoticon like part of the Transformers?
Yeah, he was the leader. Emoticon Prime.
No, no.
Brendan is in disagreement with Emoticon Prime.
I think Brendan's going to start telling us to fuck off soon.
It's coming. I feel it coming. It's like whenever his patter starts shifting into
Fuck
space.
Is that what you're looking for?
There it begins.
Yes.
So weren't we talking about professional wrestling? Wasn't that what this show is about?
No,
Yeah,
we were talking about conspiracy theories, damn it.
Oh yeah, that's a conspiracy.
there's a lot of conspiracy theories in wrestling. Believe me, I've been watching that documentary, and it seems like every death in WWF
When you
was
say
a conspiracy.
that documentary, what the hell are you talking about? Greg?
The Dark
Which
Side of the
documentary?
Ring. Sorry, it's kind of popular now. It's on streaming. I think
The
it's
Dark
on
Side of the
Hulu.
Ring. That's the story of your bathtub.
Dark Side of the
Yes.
Ring is on what? Netflix?
I think it's on Hulu now, but it's basically like a true life crime show because almost every episode's about a wrestler who was murdered, and almost every wrestler who died back then, it's some conspiracy.
When you say
Like
back
something-
then, back when they made it, or back when?
No, back in the 80s, 90s, the heyday of like WWF, Hulk Hogan, that era.
Yeah.
And every death is fucking fishy. No one just dies like, oh, I had a heart attack. There's always some character involved, or it was murder. It's crazy.
Right, wasn't there was one like in the last 10 or 20 years, the guy who like was so roided up he killed his family and himself, and he was like a major
Yes.
professional wrestler.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I
I
can't
can't remember
what
his name.
was.
Sorry.
I think his name was I'm going to chainsaw my family. I think that was his actual.
His
Oh
wrestling
yeah.
name.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna chainsaw my family. I love that guy. Oh, he fucked
Can I
up.
tell you? Here's a liberal conspiracy: is that wrestling is fake, and they're not really fighting each other.
That's not a conspiracy.
It's all scripted.
I think even the wrestlers will agree that that's true.
Not when I was a kid, though. They finally admitted it. But now, when I was a kid, it was like this muerta, as the mafia would say. It was like, don't talk about this shit.
Would the mafia say that, Greg, about wrestling?
More far stuff?
No, about the
What?
mafia. The omerta is the code of silence that mafia guys have.
Omerta.
You never talk. You don't snitch. Snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
That's
that-
what omerta means in Italian.
But what
that's
if a
the trend
stitch of
of-
9 saves time?
Well, that might get a pass. They might not kill you.
Okay,
for
so
stitching.
perhaps it's okay to be a snitch to get the stitch that saves you some time in jail. You'll have less time in jail because of that. I think that's how that
You
works.
tied that together very cleverly.
I do all these things
My hat's off to you, and for once I'm not wearing a hat.
per natural insanity. That's where it comes from.
So we got to talk about though, like what we've talked
Flat
about
Earth.
this before.
Did we even do flat Earth at all?
No, but I'm saying we got to talk about. We've talked about this before, I know, but just to reiterate, the conspiracy thing has become a huge thing since the internet, and it's gotten fucking nuts. I mean, when I was a kid, there was just random weird little groups publishing small magazines about their crazy conspiracies. And now conspiracy theories are mainstream. Like half of Americans believe in, or more, believe nutty fucking shit.
Like Trump is a good person.
Yeah, and flat Earth. Like
Right.
the flat Earth. Matt was, for our listeners, Matt was just looking it up. They're having a resurgence after a century of being this fringe kook group. Now, because of the internet, a lot of people are like, there's a lot of shit here that's interesting. Maybe I should listen to this.
So, Greg, why do you think that is? Why are people more fucking stupid or crazy or whatever?
Yeah, Greg.
Well,
no, I'm not trying to challenge you, Greg. I'm asking
challenge
your opinion.
Take him out.
Fuck up, Matt.
Take him out for a duel.
Give me a
Throw your glove at
suplex.
him.
Don't
Challenge
suplex
him.
me though, please. and so I'm just saying, we've talked about this before. Like movies like The Social Dilemma, and it's something about the internet, Facebook. It just makes us more tribal, more insular, where we're just reading news that reinforces what we believe.
It's fluoride. Fluoride has done it.
Shit, I never realized. But fluoride is, I think that is that still happening? Most people do still fluoridate their water, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Except here except in Portland, I think. I don't think we have it in the water here in Portland.
No, our water here in Florida is completely.
Well, it better be in Florida. I mean, because that's like the name, fluoridated.
Yeah. You know what? Interestingly enough, it came up, was 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, somebody hacked into the water fucking department or whatever.
That all I know is that should be the name of it. It should be called the water fuck department.
Yeah, the water fuck department. And they hacked in to some douchebag dude, his computer, and he's like, oh wow, somebody's taking over my computer, because his mouse starts moving around and bullshit, and they start clicking on stuff. And he's like, oh, that's weird. And then they back out.
This is like, actual found footage as well.
Yes.
That's weird.
And so then it was like, oh wow, I don't know what happened. Maybe that was Bob. And then about 2 hours later, it happens again. Like his computer terminal gets taken over, and they adjust, I forget, whatever thing on the water table to allow some psychotic amount of poisonous shit into the water.
Mercury.
Whatever. Mercury. It's not mercury, but
Kim
whatever.
Kardashian.
Yeah, they're going to just allow Kim Kardashian pussy juice into the water stream. And normally that Kim Kardashian,
that's what a left winger would say, Greg.
Is only at like 2%, and he ratcheted it up to 2,000%. Meanwhile, Billy Bob is watching all this shit happen and goes, uh-oh, that doesn't seem right. So then he alerts the officials, and then they turn it off. But my point is, whatever. Water.
Whatever. My point is whatever.
In Portland, like about 7 years ago, everyone had their water turned off for like 2 days. And it was just because one guy peed in a reservoir. And I was like, guys, the whole fucking water supply, one guy peed in there. Pee's astringent. You're not going to get sick from drinking a micro atom of pee in every drinking glass of water. I thought it was crazy.
There's tons of animals that are probably peeing in it anyway.
Exactly.
Birds are pooping in it.
Yeah.
Can't stop that.
Can't stop the pooping.
Unless they have poop screens over the top of the water.
They don't.
I didn't think so, because that would prevent the peeing into the water supply. Well, maybe this guy had an extraordinarily large bladder, and he did like 50-50.
And maybe he had AIDS and every disease.
Yeah, but that still wouldn't matter. It would be like the amount, would make it significant. So you could have like a dropper full of pee in the water, and it'd be fine. But if you have a guy who could pee enough to cover half of the reservoir,
are you talking about urine, like the 7 Chinese brothers? Wasn't that one of the 7 Chinese brothers?
I think that one drank all of the water. I don't think.
Yeah, and then
this would be the 8th brother. This is the one who actually had a bladder the size of the ocean. And he just saved it up for that day in Portland where he could pee into the reservoir enough so that it affected everybody else in the city.
So you could taste the urine.
Right. That would be a reason why you'd shut it down. And that could be what happened, Greg.
That must be it. It was a conspiracy that I didn't know about.
That is definitely it.
I want to taste the urine. Is that really the takeaway from this conversation?
No, but it's your takeaway.
Is that a liberal conspiracy? How drinking?
That was just the name of another wrestler. I want to taste the urine. It was like the cousin of I own a chainsaw. I'm gonna hack up my family.
Do you guys remember one of those guys? His name was Andrew Wild. He was like one of those guys who'd go on Oprah, and he was a health guru.
Yes.
And he would talk about drinking your own urine is a healthy thing to do. We should all do it. And that sounded bonkers to me. And I never read his shit, but I was like, some people would say this.
I gotta go.
Oh.
Okay.
Well,
I've spoken of urine more than once. And well,
welcome everyone to an edition of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker here in the year 2021. Our first one without a guest, but our client was something JFQ, Flat Earth, and
you.
And you.
You've left the offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. It's over. It's over. It's time for you to go home. It's over. It's over. Go away now.